bitch! You got her! Look, you got her! Okay?
You're gonna fucking die!
What's going on?
Let him go!
Who is that?
Let him
She
go!
snuck in.
Why aren't you posted up outside?
We didn't think anyone was gonna show up.
What the hell did you expect? We gotta get out of here before the whole town's on top of us. You're done.
You want what I want, right?
End it. Now.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please stop. Please don't shoot. Joel, please get up. No! No! No!
Alright, man, in the wake of the absolute total unmitigated disaster that Cyberpunk 2077 has been in certain respects, it's come to my attention that a certain little subset of fans seem to be especially happy about this. That's right. The Last of Us Part 2 fanboys. Yeah, they happy that Cyberpunk 2077 is a fucking mess. Get my show on Netflix. They happy. You know why? Because it gives people something to hate other than The Last of Us Part 2. You understand? I've seen a couple of them. One of them which I'm subscribed to, the other one which I'm not, and a few more coming out and just saying what a failure that Cyberpunk 2077 is, and it is. I'm not gonna go against that. The way that this shit came out on the PlayStation 4 and the old Xbox One is absolutely a fucking mess. But let me give you motherfuckers a reality check, man. People hate Cyberpunk 2077 because it's broken. People hate The Last of Us Part 2 and it's not even broken. Yeah. You motherfuckers don't look at it that way, do you? People hate Cyberpunk 2077 because it's rushed despite having been in development for 8 years. I know, sounds like a motherfucking oxymoron to me too. It's broken, glitchy, fucked up, fucked down, and fucked in every other direction that you could think of in some aspects. People hate The Last of Us Part 2 when the shit is in complete working order. The shit is polished. The shit got beautiful graphics. It got this, that, and a third. And people still hate it. These motherfuckers don't, they ignore the fact that The Last of Us Part 2 dropped off 80% of sales in week number 2. They ignore the fact that The Last of Us Part 2 was getting fucking returned in such a mass number that certain retailers stopped taking trade-ins for the motherfucker. I mean, like, I'm happy for the game's success, if you want to call it that. I mean, it sold a lot of copies. A lot of people took it back. I saw one of these motherfuckers who said The Last of Us Part 2 was the biggest release of the year. I'm assuming that this nigga is talking about exclusively, because we all know that Call of Duty is always going to be the biggest release of any year, unless Grand Theft Auto was coming out that year. But how can you say that when, let alone, it's not the biggest release of the year, period? Like, as a whole, it's not even the biggest exclusive release of the year. Because did you forget, nigga, that Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold about 5 times the fucking copies on half the fucking user base? You forgot that? At the last upgrade that they gave us, Animal Crossing New Horizons was at like 30 million copies or some shit like that. It's wild. On like 63 million Switches. Sold 63 million. And The Last of Us Part 2 was at like 5 million copies sold on 115 million PlayStation 4. Did you forget how to do math, guy? I know you're a fucking PlayStation fanboy. And I like the videos that you make. But come on, man. The Last of Us Part 2 isn't the biggest anything. Besides probably the biggest fucking failure. I wouldn't call it the biggest failure. Cyberpunk 2077 is the biggest failure. Because at least The Last of Us Part 2 launched in a working playable state. It's not fucked up and fucked it down like Cyberpunk 2077 was. But to me, a busted Cyberpunk 2077 is more fun than Last of Us Part 2. I mean, unpopular opinion, The Last of Us is a... Let me stop. Niggas is gonna hate. I don't care, but The Last of Us is overrated. Fuck that. Like, both of them. People wouldn't hate The Last of Us Part 2 so much if they wasn't so up the first one's ass. Let's be for real. I'm being for real. Fuck it. I don't care who hates me or who loves me for it. Like, Uncharted is better. That's all I'm saying. And that ain't even as good as like Crash Bandicoot to me, but whatever. I mean, The Last of Us Part 2 is hated at its essence. There's nothing they could do to fix the hatred for that people have for that bullshit ass game. All the CD Projekt Red has to do to get rid of the hatred for Cyberpunk 2077 is fix the fucking bugs. That's the difference. People hate the technical state of Cyberpunk. People hate the whole essence of The Last of Us Part 2. The so-called genre-defining game of the generation. Let's be for real. Everybody is gonna vote The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild the game of the generation. Come on, man. Let alone that shit has sold like 4 times the amount of copies that The Last of Us has. And then by the time it hit 20 million copies, it was on even less of a user base that Animal Crossing had. That shit, Last of Us Part 2 was fucking $20 4 months after it came out. Breath of the Wild is $60 now, and the shit is 3 fucking years old. Did y'all forget that? Y'all had to. Y'all forgot the price drop. Y'all forgot this shit went bargain bin hunting immediately. This is funny to see people bask in the failure of Cyberpunk 2077, which you should. Cyberpunk 2077 is an absolute failure on consoles. But praise something that's widely hated. You already know. You know good and fucking well that these Last of Us 2 fanboys, if the shoe were on the other foot, if a fucking Halo game came out and in the first hour somebody blew Master Chief's goddamn head off, that they wouldn't let the Xbox fans hear the end of it. You know that, right? But The Last of Us 2 is a masterpiece after Joel got his face bashed in with a golf club after 30 minutes. Like, I know people who love The Last of Us, like, that's not into all of this internet YouTube shit. They just love the game. They love The Last of Us Part 1. One of my best friends loves it. He couldn't get through 1.5 to 2 fucking hours of The Last of Us Part 2. He asked me, did I want to play that shit? I said, nigga, I don't want to play that shit. I didn't even like the first one. I remember this. This is my Last of Us story. Back on the PS3, and I did complete The Last of Us 1. I'll never touch The Last of Us 2. Fuck that. But back on the PS3, when The Last of Us came out, a few months after it came out, I was wanting some new games. So I went to GameStop. Mind you, I got The Last of Us for $20 like 4 months. And if you hear some people in the background, then fuck it. 4 months after it came out. But The Last of Us was actually something I was looking forward to back in that time. So I went to the store. I got the game. And alongside that game, I got BioShock Infinite for the PS3 both. The clerk at GameStop looked at me and said, if you're gonna play these games, you're gonna want to play BioShock Infinite first. Get that out of the way, because once you pick up The Last of Us, you're not gonna want to put it down. I said, shit, The Last of Us is that good? He was like, yeah, it's that good. So naturally, me being who I am, if the shit was that good, it wasn't no way I was waiting to get through a whole fucking game to play it. I went home and put The Last of Us in immediately. And The Last of Us Part 1, the opening of that game is great. I will never dispute that. I played about 2 hours of it, and I was like, And then I put in BioShock Infinite, and I actually didn't pick up. BioShock Infinite is what I didn't take out until it was done. And then I went back to The Last of Us after I let somebody else borrow it, and they beat it before I even did. Then I played that shit, and then I beat it. And the ending of it was great, but the middle was dog shit. That's why I have always referred to The Last of Us as a shit sandwich. Great beginning, great end, shit in the middle. If you don't like it, I don't care. As The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 just looked like it's just shit all the way through. I'm not going to make a judgment on it because I haven't played it. Don't intend to play it. So I'm not going to say that it's bad. But the consensus is that this game is hated. Now I know some of that hatred is from some of these anti-SJW fucking clowns, but a majority of it is not. Like, and if anybody who thinks I'm an SJW, no, I hate SJWs and anti-SJWs. They all belong in the same pit to me. So, but the game bashing Joel's face in within the first hour. Come on, man. People hate that game. And you just happy that something is out that people can hate instead of The Last of Us. Get the fuck on out of here, fanboys of The Last of Us Part 2. Just y'all loving that shit makes people not care about the rest of your opinions. Fuck y'all.